Today's episode is unlike anything we've ever done on podcasting for financial professionals. Over the last 99 episodes, I've interviewed financial advisors, CPAs, coaches, marketing experts, authors, and business owners who are all figuring out one thing nearly at the same time. How do you build trust at scale in a profession built on relationships? And after hundreds of pages of notes, countless conversations, and years of helping financial professionals launch and grow shows, here's the thing. The best advice keeps repeating itself. Not because everyone's copying each other, but because the fundamentals actually work. So for episode 100, I pulled together some of the most impactful advice ever shared on this show. The mindset shifts, marketing strategies, content systems, niching advice, conversion frameworks, and hard truths that help financial professionals become the obvious choice for a specific problem, create credibility at scale, and create inbound opportunities naturally through podcasting. You're about to hear rapid fire insights from some of the best guests to ever join this show simply because of how transparent and real their advice is. I've seen it in action and I know it works. And honestly, if you implement even a fraction of what you're about to hear today, your business and your content strategy will change for the better. Let's start where every successful podcast actually begins, and that's with your mindset. Welcome, Jeff Kickle, Nikki Ballou, and Patrick Lonigan.
When we launched my original independent practice, my partner and I sat down, and he had been in the RIA world his whole life. I had been in the broker-dealer world most of mine. And we very specifically were like, hey, this is what we want to do to be different. We want to be able to share information on social media, on YouTube, on everything. And I just didn't want to fight with a compliance department. So, we formed an independent practice. We hired an independent compliance company, which I still work with today. I just, after I sold my interest in that business, I launched my new one, and I've continued to work with the same compliance company. It cost me a couple $100 a month, because that's what everybody's concerned that, oh my God, if you did independent, who's going to be the compliance partner? For like $200 a month, you have a compliance department. And they, I just send them stuff. If I have questions, most of it, I don't do anything controversial that I really have to worry about that with. Mm-hmm. But if there's something I'm like, not so sure, I just run it by the compliance guys and they're like, nah, you're good. Yeah. Just if it's something new, other than that, it's pretty much I just generate content. And I've been through my first audit. My first state audit was like 18 months after I started the firm. And with all the stuff that I do, they had not a problem. In fact, they barely even talked about it.
Yeah.
Most people that go into business for themselves initially go into business because they want to help people. Sure, they want to make money. But the truth of the matter is that we do it because we want to help people. And a lot of us kind of want that sales part to go away. We just want to do the work of the helping other people, right? Like we want to do the coaching. We're really skilled at that. We want to do the managing of the money or the giving of the advice, but we want that pesky sales part to go away. And the reason is, and it's understandable, is because selling's associated with those fuller brush salespeople. It just doesn't feel good. A lot of people they don't want to reek of commission breath when they walk into a room. So because of that, they don't take the time to get good at selling in a loving, ethical way. What we have to do is we got to help them see that when they don't do that, they are losing out. They don't get business they should get because they don't go after people they should go after. And people that need their help don't get their help because some charlatan marketer who has zero ethics is going to just come in and scoop up that business because they're good at saying what they're going to say. At the end of the day, everyone loses. The client loses because they don't really get the help. right? If the charlatan marketer delivers, it's a happy accident. It was not the design, I assure you, right? Secondly, you lose because you don't get the business and your business suffers. And even the charlatan suffers because karma is real and what goes around comes around, right? So what do? Well, what you got to do first and foremost is you have to reframe sales to service. Don't look at it as selling, look at it as serving, look at it as an act of love. Nobody wants to be a pushy salesperson. Nobody wants to be sold.
It's nice to think that we're going to have this like million subscriber just avalanche of people show up in the first month, but it's just not real. It's not what happens. And so I think the showing up and testing out your voice and just getting it out into the world, we are huge believers in progress over perfection. Some of the stuff that we put out at the start is just terrible, and that's okay. We're just going to keep iterating and make it better, because early on there's only a few people, and they're probably people that care about us, and they'll give us good feedback, and we'll make it better and just keep going from there. So that's sort of my bit on how, as a content creator, it's almost okay to like sort of work on finding that voice early, and just I think that is probably the only way to blow up, is to be unique and have somebody go, that's not like anything else I've seen. That's really cool. I'm going to go pay attention to that thing. So
before you ever buy a microphone, there is a deeper, more pertinent question. Who are you actually trying to reach? Because one of the fastest ways to disappear in the sea of online content is by trying to market to everyone. The business owners seeing the best results from podcasting are the ones willing to get incredibly specific. And to guide you in this space, we're welcoming Jack Wang, Bree Kahn, and Ralph Estep Jr.
I compare it to the medical profession, where the typical financial advisor is the primary care, right? You sort of have to know a little bit about everything and sort of quarterback, if you will, that patient relationship. But those doctors understand that when the patient needs a specialist for whatever, you refer out to a specialist. And so I'm the specialist. It makes it really easy to get clients, to get prospects, because I'm the college guy. And I found it to be great working with family finances, because in the college world for financial aid, families have to disclose everything, right? Because I know from industry news and stuff, there's advisors out there who manage one piece of a client's finances, but another piece is with another advisor, or just they're doing it themselves or whatever. In the financial aid world, you have to tell me everything. So it gives me a view into everything. Right. And then from there, well, how are you going to pay for college? How's this going to impact your retirement? How's this going to impact your plans for your vacation next year? Right. All those things come in, allows me to do it. So it's a great niche to be in. And it really helps me stand out, because I lean really heavily into the niche. Now, can I talk about retirement planning? Yeah. Can I talk about investments? Yeah, but I don't. And in fact, I refer those out to friends, colleagues, so they can be the specialist for retirement, the specialist for investment, the specialist for insurance, whatever, right? Maintaining that sort of that medical model, if you will, where we bring in specialists. And I love doing it, because I tell clients, you want to talk to specialists because it's your money. It's important to you. You don't want someone who sort of knows. You want someone who actually knows.
We are a life and financial planning firm for people who do not have kids and do not intend on having kids. And so our entire job is working with DINKs and SINKs, so single income no kids and dual income no kids. And we really focus on not only the financial part of everything, because we are finance people, but also the life part too. And that's why we say we do life and financial planning. Our goal is really to make our clients' finances simple so that their life can be amazing, because we want you to go out and do things you enjoy and have the freedom and flexibility to do that without worrying about whether or not your finances can support that. The whole point for us is Let's figure out what your life looks like. And then what do we need to do to set your finances up to support you in that?
With doing so much content work, I said, well, I'll just go AI. I'll create a prompt. It'll write my scripts. And I leaned into that for a while. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, this is not Ralph. This is not me. Sure. Was it grammatically correct? Was it impactful? Sure. Was it full of, I mean, I can make AI make you cry, but it wasn't Ralph. And that's been part of the evolution I've been through as well. Like I spent a lot of money on this teleprompter that I don't really use anymore, because what I have found is it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to edit out every little nuanced thing. You're a human being. The people listening to you expect you to trip up on your words sometimes. That's your charm. That's what makes you who you are. I speak loud. I speak quick. That's who I am. If I sit here like Bueller, monotone, they'd be like, who is this guy? I don't want to listen to him. The truth is, if they want to just go get information, they can go on Google search and find information. If you want them to come to you, share the experience with them. Be that character, if you will. I'm not saying to go be somebody you're not, but be that person that's bringing that relationship to the table, because that's how you're going to grow this. And listen, you're going to grow one viewer at a time, one audience member at a time, one client at a time, and you got to be okay with that.
Once you know exactly who you serve, content creation gets so much easier, because now you're not guessing what to talk about. You're solving a very specific problem for very specific people. And in this section, you'll hear about how to use AI, social media, and strategic consistency to create content people actually remember. And to guide you in this space, we're welcoming Mike Montague, Qasim Aslam, and Tracy Beavers.
You know, obviously don't put any actual numbers, financial information, or private stuff into any AI system, whether it says it's private and secure or not. They all seem to be leaking and training models with them, and they are not secure in the way that we would talk about banking secure. So that's number one. Number two, though, is in order to get good output, there's a few things we need to do. I call it context engineering. So AI has this great knowledge of everything that's ever been published on the internet. It knows a lot about financial services, right? So we can ask it to do a lot, but what it's going to do is use probability to predict the most average, normal, sort of generic situation. And if we want it to speak in our voice or tell our client's story, we need to give it the context around what that is. What is your niche? What makes you a better or different financial planner than anybody else on the planet? Also, why is your client's situation different? So there's a couple of things here that I would say. Number one is just go ahead and pay the $20 a month to ChatGPT to get the pro version, because it adds a lot more context windows, lets you set up custom instructions. You can even build a custom GPT for yourself where you can upload like your website or PDF documents or your company marketing materials and say, hey, here's everything about me. I downloaded my LinkedIn profile for one of mine, and I'm a big nerd, so I'm not necessarily suggesting this, but I was in professional development for the last 15 years. So I uploaded my DISC profile, my Myers-Briggs, my like Strengths Finders report, all of these different things about me and my personality, books that I had written, and said, hey, here's all the transcripts from my previous podcast. Here's everything that you could possibly know about me, Mike Montague. Keep this in your memory so that if I ask you a question, I want you to write in my voice. It'll sound like me, and it'll know kind of what I know and what my area is. And it's gotten really good, like scary good.
But you have to be consistent. If you're not being consistent, you know what I mean? Like the algorithm won't even begin to recommend you. You'll never see the traction. So what that really means, it used to be 90 days. We used to tell people, shoot one video every business day for 90 days and you'll start getting recommended. Now it's more like 180.
One of the biggest things I love about Facebook that sets it apart is groups, Facebook groups. So there are Facebook groups. Some of them are terrible. Some of them have 50,000 people in them and nobody's talking to anybody. And those are not the groups I'm talking about. I'm talking about Facebook groups that are built like a community like mine. If at a minimum, if all they did was join Facebook to join my free group, set their profile, Facebook personal profile up for list growth, which is a strategy I teach. And the personal profile has to be set up the right way, because when you go into a Facebook group, 9 times out of 10, you have to join as your personal profile. They do not allow you to join as your business page. And I understand that. I don't want business to business interactions. I want human to human interactions. But I want your personal profile to show under your photograph who you are, who you serve, and how, very clearly. All the links of you, the entire menu, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Pinterest, your whatever, your podcast, your whatever you've got, all of it. And then I want your cover photo leading to your email list. That's the secret sauce. So when people see you in my free group and they're like, who is this girl? She is so helpful and she's helping people build podcasts and she's got this financial background and she's not like your stuffy accountant. She loves to wear a pink blazer. I think I love her, right? They're going to click on your name and they're going to go to your Facebook personal profile and they're going to see what you do and they're going to look at your cover photo and they're going to slide right on down to your email list without you having to do anything. I have hundreds of people that join my list and my free group every month because I am active in these other communities, not promoting anything because some don't allow promotion of any kind. I am simply showing up, being a really nice human, asking people what they need, connecting them with other people if I'm not the answer, cheering them on, and they get curious. They're like, this Tracy Beavers girl, she's so nice. And she's got this great tip she just gave me. And then they're going to click on my personal profile and then they'll go there and they'll go, oh, she has her own free group. I want to join that. And so then they slide right down to my free group. And by the way, I have the membership entry questions up for my group, written for my group. They want to join my email list, which then I admit them into my group. Then I have a reason, a good excuse to DM them and give them the white glove experience that is Tracy Beavers and her free group and say, Virginia, I am so glad you're here. Welcome to the Be a Confident Entrepreneur group. In the group, you can do this, this, and that. Would you let me know you got this message? And you're going to reply back and you're going to be like, dang, she's nice. And you're going to go, yeah, I got the message. Thanks so much. And then if I don't know where you came from, I can go, hey, did we meet through a mutual friend or maybe another group? Or did you hear my podcast? And you're going to go, yeah, Susie Smith said your group was amazing and da-da-da-da. Oh, I love Susie. She's such a gem. Tell me about your business. And we're going to have a conversation. So do you see how this whole ecosystem can work in Facebook just by you showing up and being present where your ideal clients are and your collaboration partners are and having your personal profile set up for list growth? It's a whole funnel thing that just works like gangbusters.
Now, here's the part most podcasters completely miss. Attention alone doesn't grow your business. A listener can binge 40 episodes and still never become a lead unless you have intentionally guided them into your business's ecosystem. This next section is all about turning that earned trust into action. And to guide you in this space, we're welcoming Hillary Gale, Allie Grummert, and Chris Miles.
The lead magnet and the welcome sequence, it's one of the most important pieces of your marketing funnel or your marketing ecosystem, but it's so underutilized, right? So many people don't have that yet because it can be kind of an intimidating piece of content to create. You know, it's going to probably be a part of your ecosystem for a long time. And so I think there's a lot of pressure to get it right, but it can also be tough to figure out, what does my audience really need? And what will they be willing to exchange their email address for? One thing that we do in our firm is I won't write a lead magnet or I won't create a lead magnet without a welcome sequence, because I think that the lead magnet is really, it's not doing you any favors if there's no follow-up and nobody hears from you afterwards. And a welcome sequence doesn't have to be 20 emails, right? A welcome sequence can be 5 emails. It can be 6 emails. It doesn't have to be this like big behemoth of a sequence, but it is important because it introduces you to the person who signed up for your email list. It builds trust and it kind of one of its main functions should be to teach the person who's subscribed that your emails are worth opening. They get value out of them or they enjoy them in some way. And then it's also an opportunity at the end of the sequence to invite them to take another step with you, to maybe book a discovery call or something like that. And so that's a really big wasted opportunity if you don't have a welcome sequence with your lead magnet.
I had people reply back to one of my automated emails often, like people from the other side of the world sharing with me their own personal finance issues and pain points. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this person feels like they know me and trust me enough to tell me about their money issues, which is like a sensitive topic, this is working. Like you can actually build a genuine connection even with an automated email. And so that was my direction when I started. I was like, I really want to help people build that relationship with their subscriber from the get-go. But like knowing how much my clients want to build this relationship, they already have these wonderful resources that they want their subscribers to know about. They do have products they want them to know about. And we can include all of that in these automated emails so that every new subscriber, whether they join now or 6 months from now, get the same introduction into their community. Like that is such an intangible confidence that supports the creator. We do audience research and we use that information, what they're struggling with, what they need help with, and what they already love, and we front load the heck out of their onboarding. We write all the emails and we set them all up for them in their email service platform. And we like announce it to their list, turn it on, the whole thing, which I think also sets me apart as a copywriter because I'm doing more than just writing. I'm like, we're getting in there, we're testing the links, we're able to like add link triggers so we actually can track how many people have clicked on a sales page. Like we do the whole gamut.
And so my original intention for doing it was 2 reasons. One, any frequently asked questions or should be asked questions from clients, it's so much nicer to say, here's the question I get asked all the time, record it. And if they ask the question, say, listen to this first, and then come back and ask for clarifying questions. So it frees up my time. 2, I also had a bunch of young kids. I actually have, of my own children, I have 6 children between the ages of 9 and 21. That does not include the 2 bonus children I have with my wife from her previous marriage, right? So we got 8 between the 2 of us. And when my kids were young, I thought, man, all these things I've learned about money, even though I was going broke, but still I learned a lot of things. I'm like, I need them to know this. So I was recording a lot of that stuff just in case I died young. It was something I could pass on to my kids too.
And this is where podcasting as a marketing endeavor becomes very different from any social media strategy. Podcasting rewards patience. We don't podcast because we're trying to go viral or become the next Mr. Beast. And we're definitely not doing this because we think overnight success is coming our way. No, the people who win here are the people who post fresh episodes frequently. Once per week is most common, and long term. Here are a few tips from the pros, and boy, is this a serious lineup. We've got Joe Curry, Chris Miles, Ralph Estep Jr., Katie Brinkley, Camille Walker, and Lindsay Bonham.
I'm going to do this for 3 years no matter what and see where we're at. And then from there, we'll start thinking more specifically about dollars in and what's coming back from it. But again, in order to look at it from that standpoint, you also have to have some other reason you're doing it. And I kind of gave my reasons on that already. I think if it was just do this for 3 years to get some new clients, I probably wouldn't be able to stick with it. But yeah, I think it's understanding kind of what's a reasonable expectation. And so maybe you still measure the ROI on it, but what's the timeline of when you're going to start measuring it? Because again, if you're expecting to get something short term, it's not going to happen. Now, that said, we're thinking a lot about our marketing right now, and we're not making any changes on the podcast. We'll continue to do that. But we put a lot of time into social media. It's something that, over the last year or so, we've seen a little bit of growth, but we haven't really seen a whole lot from that. So we're probably going to take some of those dollars and put it towards maybe trying some video. And video will have a similar, I guess, longer term outlook like the podcasting has when we get more into that. So I'm probably not giving you the best examples of how you should measure on your ROI, but when I'm looking at these kind of marketing techniques, I'm thinking more long-term. And even if we don't get clients from it, I feel like it's also giving us a bit of authority on the subject of retirement planning as well, right? So I think there's more than just, getting new clients as far as what the ROI is. And I'm okay with that. Again, who knows, maybe that changes over time. And at a certain point, we'll get more specific on how we're measuring that. But that, to this point, things, like social media that are taking a lot of time, we're measuring, like, is anything coming back out of that? And other than maybe getting some more people to the podcast, which is great, there's probably not a whole lot coming out of that. So we're probably going to dial back a little bit on how much we're putting in on social media just because of the time commitment to it. So that's maybe one example where we are looking at the ROI.
We hear this all the time. People are like, hey, I've been following you for years. I finally decided to reach out. And that's the thing. It's like, you're right. Longevity is everything. And I remember even in 2015, being a year or so in, I actually had a really rough day one day. I think it was in September. I was just thinking, like, man, if I just quit this podcast, would anybody even notice? Like, would it just be like, am I just talking to myself? Because especially when you're doing this, and I wasn't using camera at the time. I started audio only, but still, I felt like I was just talking to myself. And so that same morning, I'm like, maybe I should just shut it down. This is depressing me. And then I go to this conference. It's like conference for like people that do essential oils. I had friends and clients there. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to your conference and see what it's like. 18,000 people were there. So massive. And I go out in the hallway and people start coming out for break times or whatever. And I see this guy across the hall staring at me. And it kind of made me uncomfortable, right? I'm kind of an introvert anyways, but seeing him stare at me, like keep looking at me, I'm like, who is this guy? I don't know him. Why does he keep looking at me? And then finally he decides to walk over. He's like, are you Chris Miles? Yeah. He's like, oh my gosh, my wife and I love you. We actually listen to your podcast. Like, we love it. It's so awesome. And by the way, my podcast was maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks at that time. And he's like, yeah, we listen to your podcast all the time. It's so good. I'm like, really? That's interesting to hear. Like, how'd you even hear about it? Oh, well, our team leader is one of your clients. I'm like, oh, okay, Stacy, got it. So I made the connection. He's like, yeah, let me go get my wife. And so he gets his wife, but then he brings there's like probably like another 6 people there too. He brings them over. They're like, oh, we all listen to your podcast too. We love it. And I was like, that's really cool to hear, because I was literally thinking about shutting it down today. They're like, no, don't shut it down. Like, just because we're not, asking you, or we don't feel like we're ready for you yet, doesn't mean that you're not doing good stuff. Like, please just keep doing it. Don't give up on us. And so I didn't. I kept going, now 10 years later after that event, and
I'm looking at every dollar I spend in podcasting is marketing dollars. And it's building my brand, it's building my practice, and I'm starting to see results from it. But again, I'm about 2 years plus into it. And I've already made the commitment that this is a 3-year project. At the same time, though, you've got to start looking at, what is this doing? I went into it with the idea that this is going to be top of the funnel. I'm going to put this content out there and people are going to, I got to have this. It doesn't work for me like that. To me, it's a reinforcement, because I hear people say this all the time. Oh, I heard about you from such and such, and then I went and listened to 10 of your shows. Or I heard about this and I went and watched your YouTube, or I read your blogs, I looked at your websites. Those things are all reinforcements. And I think a lot of people go into this with the idea that just put it out there, somebody's going to come to it, and that's where they're going to discover them. That may happen occasionally, but that's not what happened to me. That's not been my journey. And the thing is, like, if that's what you're looking for, you're going to get discouraged, because you're going to be like, wait a minute, my download numbers aren't great. But the coolest thing for me is seeing that shows I did 3 years ago are still getting downloads now. And that tells me that people are going back and saying, oh, that guy Ralph knows what he's talking about. Let me go listen to a year's worth of his shows, or, oh, he's got this topic. Titles are huge. Like, I've actually changed my daily show. Every title is a question. And that's been super effective. That little change doubled my downloads in 3 weeks.
When I launched my podcast, I was doing all of it. I was finding the guests, I was doing the editing, I was writing the show notes, I was doing the promotion, I was making the social media graphics. I was doing everything.
Wow.
And I was allowing myself an hour a week for my podcast, but really it was taking at least like 5 to 6. And it wasn't until I started batching my content and outsourcing that allowed me to really remain consistent with my show, because it allowed me to be really picky with who my guests were. And it allowed me to get ahead. Batching your content, it allows you to remain consistent. I do 2 a week. And I'm still able to go on vacations. I'm still able to, live my life, not just be sitting behind the microphone the whole time. I'm allowed to do guest interviews. And it's all because I have the system in place of these are my recording days. I'll send them out to guests I want to have come on, batching the content and then outsourcing it. But outsourcing made such a difference because, like I said, I didn't realize how much time I was spending producing my show that, again, once I used Toggle. For people who aren't familiar with Toggle, it's a time tracking tool. It's free. I recommend everyone use it. If you're at the point of saying like, I don't have time for X, I'm sure you do. And I'm sure you're spending an exorbitant amount of time on something that you think takes zero time. For me, it was my podcast. And once I had those 5 hours a week back, because I outsourced the production, everything changed. I was able, like I said, to batch, pick my guests, and remain consistent.
For example, is with my podcast, I use Calendly. I have specific ways to bring guests in through threads on Instagram. It is not hard for me to get guests. That's never been an issue for me. But what is a very specific skill set is that I use my onboarding to bring in guests that fit within the wheelhouse of what my goal is for my podcast, which is to help overwhelmed entrepreneurs. Yes. So as soon as I'm done with that interview, I send it to my assistant. I don't see it again until the blog post is done, the socials are done. And as soon as I'm done recording, I pull open my phone and I do a vertical story recording of that episode and I save it as a favorite in my photos. So I can pull that up and be like, oh, this week I recorded that 4 weeks ago, but oh, here's that recording I made. My makeup's already done because I just did a recording, and then I pull it up and say, hey, I just had this interview. It was amazing, check it out. And the thoughts of what I was sharing are so fresh and easy to share, right? So having an assistant, I'm not good at the back end stuff, the editing, forget it. I'm terrible. So that's where having an assistant there, and he emails it to me and says, okay, here's the post, and he emails the guest, and it's just amazing. So having someone like you and your team that does that, it just frees up so much space that way.
My greatest regret is that I started it later than I should have. Once I started it, I was like, oh my gosh, why wasn't I doing this from the beginning? Because I personally love podcasts and I love more depthful conversations. And so we started the podcast, I believe it's 2021. Don't quote me, but that feels right-ish. And we work in seasons, which also gives us a little break. So we do 12 episodes at a time. And then my team gets like a, 4 to 6 week break between seasons. But it has definitely been a game changer for our business in terms of being able to get out like really great quality conversations that I would be having anyways, right? Like conversations that I enjoy so deeply, and then putting them out there and having folks in our audience be able to enjoy that conversation 3 years later has been such a gift to our business. And when I look at our surveys for new students who join our courses, almost invariably now they identify as podcast listeners.
If there's one thing I hope you take away from this 100th episode, it is this. There is no single magic strategy. The financial professionals and business owners of all types growing through podcasting are simply the ones willing to keep showing up, keep refining, keep learning, and keep building trust long before someone ever becomes a client. That's what this show has always been about. Not chasing downloads, not becoming internet famous, but helping professionals create strategic content ecosystems that nurture relationships, pre-educate prospects, and support long-term business growth. To every guest who has shared their wisdom across these first 100 episodes, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are a big reason we are still going. And to you, who's been here learning from my guests and I practically alongside us, listening week after week, thank you for being here. Cheers to 100 episodes together. Thanks for listening to this episode of Podcasting for Financial Professionals. Before you go, make sure you're actually measuring what your podcast is producing. not by vibes, not by download spikes, but by the actual outcomes it's creating. Authority, visibility, and leads for your business. Your podcast is doing more than you think. You just need a way to see it. That's why I created the Podcast ROI Metrics Tracker, a free tool that helps you track the real return your podcasting for business is creating. From authority and visibility to leads and opportunities across many categories. Download it right now at podcastabundance.com/ROI-tracker.